Hello guys, welcome to our channel Knowledge World. Today in this video I will be teaching about language of chemistry of class 9. In this video we will discuss about what are symbols, what is valency, the reason for variable valency, what is a chemical formula, how to write a chemical formula and many other topics of this chapter which I have written down below. So guys, before we begin, subscribe to our channel Knowledge World and switch on the bell notifications button so that you don't miss any new updates. So guys, let's begin. First, let's understand what are symbols. A symbol is a short form of an element. A symbol represents a specific element or one atom of that element. In 1814, Jacob Berzelius suggested a simple way of representing elements with symbols by their letters. In most cases, the first letter of the name of the element was taken as the symbol of the element. The symbol was written in capitals. For example, the symbol of hydrogen is capital H and the symbol of oxygen is capital O. In some cases where the first letter of the name was already adopted as a symbol by another element, the first letter in capitals with a small letter of the same name was taken as the symbol. For example, calcium has a symbol of Ca where C is in capitals, silicon has a symbol of Si where S is in capitals, and magnesium has a symbol of Mg where M is in capitals. In some cases, the symbols of some elements were derived from their Latin names. For example, copper, which has a symbol of Cu, was derived from its Latin name cuprum. Iron, which has a symbol of Fe, is derived from its Latin name ferrum, and potassium, which has a symbol of capital K, is derived from its Latin name kalium. Now let's understand what is valency. Valency is the number of electrons lost or gained per atom by an element to an atom of another element to form a compound. Some elements or radicals have positive valencies and some have negative valencies. All metals and hydrogen have a positive valency. The number of electrons lost per atom by a metal is the valency of the metal. Metals tend to lose electrons because they have an excess of electrons, and since they want to gain stable electronic configuration, they lose their electrons. Some examples of metals with positive valencies are sodium, which has a valency of 1+, magnesium, which has a valency of 2+, and aluminium, which has a valency of 3+. If we talk about nonmetals, all nonmetals have negative valencies. The number of electrons gained per atom by a nonmetal is the valency of the nonmetal. Nonmetals tend to gain electrons because they have a lack of electrons and they want to achieve stable electronic configuration, so they gain electrons. Some examples of nonmetals with negative valencies are chlorine, which has a valency of 1-, sulfur, which has a valency of 2-, and nitride, which has a valency of 3-. Now let's understand what is variable valency. Some elements also exhibit variable valencies, that is more than one valency. Examples of such elements are copper, which exhibits a valency of 1+ and 2+, gold, which exhibits valencies of 1+ and 3+, iron, which exhibits valencies of 2+ and 3+, and lead, which exhibits valencies of 2+ and 4+. Now you might have a question, why do some elements exhibit more than one valency, that is variable valency? The reason is that sometimes an atom of an element can lose more electrons than that are present in the outermost shell, or also known as a valence shell. They can lose those excess electrons from the last but one shell, which is known as the penultimate shell. Now let's understand what is chemical formula. A chemical formula is the representation of substances in form of symbols. A chemical formula represents one molecule of a compound and also indicates the number of atoms of each element present in the compound. Some examples of chemical formulas are NaCl, which is the chemical formula for sodium chloride, SO4, which is the chemical formula for sulfate, and CaSO4, which is the chemical formula for calcium sulfate. Now I'll tell you the steps to write a chemical formula. There are mainly 4 steps to write a chemical formula. Step 1. We have to write down the symbols of the atoms of the elements, in which the positive atom should be on the left side and the negative atom should be on the right side. In the second step, we have to write down the valencies of each atom on the top right side of both the symbols. In the third step, we have to interchange the valencies of each atom and shift them to the bottom right side of the symbols. During this step, we have to ignore the signs whether they are positive or negative. If the atoms have same valencies, then divide them by each other, which gives the valency number as 1 on both sides. And whenever you get the valency number as 1, you have to ignore the number. And in the final step, after interchanging the valencies and ignoring the valencies if the valency was 1, we have to write down the chemical formula. Now I'll teach you how to write a chemical formula with some examples. First, let's take an example of sodium chloride. In the first step, we write down the symbols of both these elements, in which we write down the symbol of sodium on the left side as it is the positive element and write down the symbol of chloride, which is the negative element, on the right side. In the second step, we write down the valencies of both these elements on the top right side. The valency of sodium is 1 plus and the valency of chloride is 1 minus. In the third step, we interchange the valencies of both the symbols to the bottom right side of both the symbols. And we ignore the signs of the symbols. And in the final step, we write down the chemical formula of sodium chloride. And since the valency number on both the sides is 1, we ignore the number 1. So, the chemical formula of sodium chloride is NaCl. Now let's take an example of magnesium chloride. First we write down the symbols of magnesium and chloride. The symbol of magnesium is Mg and the symbol of chloride is Cl. Then we write down the valencies of Mg and Cl on the top right side. Mg, which is magnesium, has a valency of 2 plus and chloride has a valency of 1 minus. In the third step, we interchange the valencies of both these elements, where Mg has a valency of 1 and Cl, which is chloride, has a valency of 2 now. So, in the final step, we write down the formula of magnesium chloride as MgCl2. Since Mg has a valency number as 1, we ignore the number 1. Now let's take an example of zinc sulfide. First we write down the symbols of zinc and sulfide. The symbol of zinc is Zn and the symbol of sulfide is S. Then we write down the valencies of both these elements. The valency of zinc is 2 plus and the valency of sulfide is 2 minus. We write the valencies on the top right side of both these symbols. In the third step, we interchange the valencies of both these elements. We shift them to the bottom right side of both the symbols. As both zinc and sulfide have the valency 2, we divide them by each other and get the valency number as 1. And as we all know, when we get the valency number as 1, we ignore it. So, the chemical formula for zinc sulfide is ZnS. Now let's understand what is a chemical equation. A chemical equation is a shorthand representation of a chemical change. It represents the result of a chemical change. In a chemical equation, the reactants and products are represented by symbols. In case of elements, they are represented by their own symbols, and in case of compounds, they are represented by their formulas. The reactants are written on the left hand side and the products are written on the right hand side. The reactants are the substances which take part in the reaction, and the products are the substances formed as a result of the chemical change. In a chemical equation, the products and reactants are connected by a plus sign. Now let's talk about the information provided by a chemical equation and the limitations of a chemical equation. A chemical equation tells us the nature of the reactants and the products. It tells us the formulas and the symbols of the reactants and the products. It tells us whether the reaction is a reversible reaction or an irreversible reaction. It also tells us the physical state of the reactants and the products, whether it is in solid, liquid or gaseous state. If we talk about the limitations of a chemical equation, that is what a chemical equation does not tell us, it does not tell us whether the reaction is complete or not. It does not tell us about the concentration of the products and reactants in the reaction. It does not tell us the speed of the reaction. It does not tell whether there is a color change during the reaction. Neither does it tell us is there any evolution of light during the reaction. Now let's understand what is a balanced equation. A balanced equation is an equation in which the number of atoms on the product side and the reactant side is equal. An example of a balanced equation is the reaction of zinc with sulfuric acid. The reaction is as follows. Zn plus H2SO4 gives ZnSO4 plus H2. As you can see, the number of zinc and sulfur atoms is equal on the reactant and the product side. Hydrogen atoms on the reactant side is equal to the hydrogen atoms on the product side. The oxygen atoms on the reactant side is equal to the oxygen atoms on the product side. Now let's take an example of an unbalanced equation. Let us take an example of zinc reaction with hydrogen chloride. The molecular equation is Zn plus HCl gives ZnCl2 plus H2. As we can see in this equation, zinc atoms on the reactant side is equal to the zinc atoms on the product side, but the hydrogen and chlorine atoms on the reactant side is not equal to the hydrogen and chlorine atoms on the product side. There is one hydrogen and one chlorine atom on the reactant side, and there are two chlorine and two hydrogen atoms on the product side. So, the above equation is an example of an unbalanced equation. So guys, now you might have a question, why should we balance an equation? We have to balance an equation in order to comply with the law of conservation of matter. Law of conservation of matter states that matter can neither be created nor be destroyed. And an unbalanced equation would show that atoms might have been created or destroyed during the reaction. So in a balanced equation, total mass of reactants will be equal to the total mass of the products. So this will comply with the law of conservation of matter, thus it is necessary to balance an equation. Now let's understand what is relative atomic mass and relative molecular mass. As we all know guys, atoms are extremely small in size and very light. So to get to know the atomic weight, we cannot weigh them directly. So to find the relative atomic mass, that is the atomic weight of an atom, or the relative molecular mass, that is the molecular weight of the molecule, we consider the mass of an atom or molecule and we compare the mass of that atom to the mass of another atom or other molecule. Since hydrogen was the lightest metal at that time and still it is the lightest metal, it was chosen as a standard unit for comparison. And since 1961, 12 atoms of carbon was taken as the standard unit for comparison. So guys, before we go to the next topic, let's know the definition of relative atomic mass and relative molecular mass. First, let's know the definition of relative atomic mass. Relative atomic mass is also known as atomic weight. Relative atomic mass of an element is the number of times one atom of an element is heavier than 1/12 the mass of one atom of carbon. The formula to find relative atomic mass is mass of one atom of an element divided by 1/12 the mass of one atom of carbon. The definition for relative molecular mass is relative molecular mass is also known as molecular weight. Relative molecular mass of an element or compound is the number of times the mass of one molecule of a substance is heavier than 1/12 the mass of one atom of carbon. The formula to find relative molecular mass is relative molecular mass is equal to mass of one molecule of a substance divided by 1/12 the mass of one atom of carbon. So guys, finally at the end of this chapter, I will teach you how to calculate relative molecular mass and the percentage of composition of a compound. First, I will teach you how to calculate relative molecular mass. I will explain you this with some examples. First, let's take an example of nitrogen dioxide. First, you have to know the atomic weight of the atoms present in the compound. The atoms present in the compound are nitrogen and oxygen. The atomic weight of nitrogen is 14 and the atomic weight of oxygen is 16. Then we add the atomic weights of the atoms present in the compound. So, atomic weight of nitrogen plus atomic weight of oxygen is equal to 14 plus 2 into 16. The reason we multiplied by 2 over here is because there are 2 oxygen atoms present in the compound. Thus, the final answer is 46 and the molecular weight of nitrogen dioxide is 46. Now let's solve the next solution. Calculate the relative molecular mass of sulfuric acid. The chemical formula for sulfuric acid is H2SO4. Over here, there are 2 hydrogen atoms, 1 sulfur atom and 4 oxygen atoms present. Atomic weight of oxygen is 16, atomic weight of hydrogen is 1 and the atomic weight of sulfur is 32. As we all know, now we add the atomic weight of hydrogen, oxygen and sulfur. So atomic weight of hydrogen plus atomic weight of oxygen plus atomic weight of sulfur is equal to 1 into 2 plus 32 plus 16 into 4. We get the final answer as 98. Thus, molecular weight of sulfuric acid is 98. Let's solve another problem. Calculate the relative molecular mass of ammonium sulfate. The chemical formula for ammonium sulfate is NH4 twice sulfate. There is 2 nitrogen atoms present, 8 hydrogen atoms, 1 sulfur atom and 4 oxygen atoms present. The atomic weight of oxygen is 16, atomic weight of hydrogen is 1, atomic weight of sulfur is 32 and atomic weight of nitrogen is 14. Now we add the atomic weight of the atoms present over here. So, atomic weight of hydrogen plus atomic weight of oxygen plus atomic weight of sulfur plus atomic weight of nitrogen gives 1 into 8 plus 32 plus 16 into 4 plus 14 into 2. So we get the final answer as 132. Thus, molecular weight of ammonium sulfate is 132. Now finally, I will teach you the calculation of percentage of composition of a compound. That is, which atom in the compound is contained at what percentage, which you will understand further. Let us understand this with a solution. Solution 1. Calculate the percentage of composition of carbon dioxide. Over here, we have to find what percentage of carbon dioxide is carbon and what percentage of carbon dioxide contains oxygen. The atomic weight of carbon is 12 and the atomic weight of oxygen is 16. So the molecular weight of carbon dioxide is equal to 12 plus 16 into 2, which gives 44. Let us take it as 44 grams over here for our calculation. So molecular weight of carbon dioxide is 44 grams. 44 grams of carbon dioxide contains 12 grams of carbon and 32 grams of oxygen. So the percentage of carbon in carbon dioxide is equal to 12 divided by 44 into 100, which gives 27.27%. So 27.27% of carbon dioxide is carbon. And 44 grams of carbon dioxide contains 32 grams of oxygen. So percentage of oxygen carbon dioxide is equal to 32 divided by 44 into 100, which gives 72.73% as the answer. Thus, carbon dioxide contains 27.27% of carbon and 72.73% of oxygen in it. So finally, let's solve another example. Calculate the percentage of composition of sodium hydroxide. The atomic weight of sodium is 23, atomic weight of oxygen is 16, and the atomic weight of hydrogen is 1. So the molecular weight of sodium hydroxide is 23 plus 16 plus 1, which is equal to 40. Let us take it as grams. So the molecular weight of sodium hydroxide is 40 grams. So 40 grams of sodium hydroxide contains 23 grams of sodium, 16 grams of oxygen, and 1 gram of hydrogen. First, let's find the percentage of sodium in sodium hydroxide. Percentage of sodium in sodium hydroxide is equal to 23 divided by 40 into 100, which gives the answer as 57.5%. Thus, sodium hydroxide contains 57.5% sodium in it. Now let's find the percentage of oxygen in sodium hydroxide. Percentage of oxygen in sodium hydroxide is equal to 16 divided by 40 into 100, which gives the answer as 40%. Now let's find the percentage of hydrogen in sodium hydroxide. Percentage of hydrogen in sodium hydroxide is equal to 1 by 40 into 100, which gives the answer as 2.5%. Thus, sodium hydroxide contains 57.5% of sodium, 40% of oxygen, and 2.5% of hydrogen in it. So guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you have got all your doubts cleared. If you like this video, then give a like to this video, share this video, and subscribe to our channel Knowledge World and switch on the bell notifications button so that you don't miss any new updates. So guys, meet you in the next video.